Hey, Richest, you money maniacs, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to explain to you what stored value means, especially when it comes to the difference between money and currency, and all kinds of other ways that you should consider storing your value. All right, let's get right to it. Hey, Richest, you money maniacs. Tom coming at you again. Thanks for tuning in. In this video, we're going to be talking about stored value and what it means when you talk about the difference between money and currency, especially in this particular economic climate. Nowadays, not only are people out of work, but people are starting to realize that they've been living on credit for far too long. Leveraging their finances so that they could live further and further beyond their means without any real savings, without any real emergency funds, without any real knowledge of exactly how money and currency actually work, how the financial world actually works. So I'm going to keep it simple in this video. The idea of this video is to emphasize how to store your value even in an economy like this where the market is wildly going up and down and up and down, and everybody's talking about supply chain disruption and manufacturing shutting down and businesses closing and people record high unemployment. How do you store your value to protect it against being taken by taxes, by inflation, by trickery of the financial institutions, by just not paying attention? You know, I have a really dear friend who actually has a nice little nest egg in savings right this minute. And that person believes that her money is safe in savings, even though she's tapping into it once in a while because her bills are a little bit out of control. However, she's still working. She's not even one of the tens of millions of people who are out of work right now. She still has income, yet her savings is still being diminished. It's being diminished by inflation. It's being diminished, and when I say inflation, I mean the Federal Reserve and the U.S. elected officials, the U.S. Treasury working in conjunction to print bills up to infinity, to the tune of trillions and quadrillions of numbers. It's insane to do that and not expect your buying purchase to go down. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about store of value. See, a lot of people think that the dollar bill is a store of value. What they've forgotten is that the dollar bill is currency. It's not actual money. It stopped being money at all when Nixon in 1971 closed the gold exchange window. You could exchange a silver or gold certificate dollar bill, US dollar bill, and get an ounce of gold or a fractional ounce of gold. And so really, my friend, she has all this currency in the bank, and the bank is paying her some ridiculously low interest rate, 0.01% or something silly like that per year. And she thinks that the money is safe there. But what she's failing to realize is that currency is not really, especially fake currency or fiat currency, is not really a store of value. Only money can be a store of value. Now, if you have questions about the more detailed explanation of the difference between money and currency, make sure you check out this video about the difference between currency and money, where I describe it in more detail. However, just really briefly, money is the abstract value that human beings place on objects to be able to trade goods. I'm willing to give you my cow for a cartload of corn. That's money. So the corn is the money and the cow is the money. That value that is stored in the work it took to create the cow, to create the corn. You had to raise the cow, you had to grow the corn. That took time and energy on both sides, and it took resources and focus. So those stores of effort are the cow and the corn. Currency came along to make it so that people didn't have to carry around corn and cows to try and trade with each other to be able to buy and sell things. Currency is supposed to represent the value that's stored in the money, in the abstract idea of value. Because remember something, a cow is only worth what it's worth to you. That value may be different for another person. Another person may see a cow as a burden. For instance, I have a whole bunch of cows. I don't need any more cows. You know what? Keep your cow. I'd rather have 3 of your chickens. Do you see what I mean? So it's a subjective, abstract idea, money. But one of the very important roles that money plays is that it stores value. That cow will always take the same amount of grain, the same amount of time, and the same amount of effort and focus to raise to be a full cow to be able to be sold. So it always takes the same amount of time to grow corn each season, the same amount of water, the same amount of sun, the same amount of nutrients from the soil, and then you get corn. So you can't just type into a computer and have corn pop out. At least not yet, although technology may move in that direction, and that'll be a real curveball for the financial world. So, and what I'm referencing is, of course, technology is moving so quickly. Think about Star Trek, right? In Star Trek, they could just push a button and food appeared. So you never know. But for now, it always takes the same amount. So currency comes along, and now it's easy to create currency. And over the last few generations, people have lost the understanding of the difference between money and currency. Currency is easy to print. You just put in the cotton, or you put in the paper, or you put in whatever, and you print some fancy stuff on it, and all of a sudden you make it a little harder for other people to do Xerox copies of it, and you call it currency. And one piece of paper or cotton, all it have to do to make it more valuable is to change the number on it. Well, we've gone even beyond that. The Federal Reserve now just types numbers into a computer, and wha-bam! Suddenly they have trillions of dollars to spend just by typing a couple more zeros. Isn't that handy? So what does that have to do with the store of value? Well, currency, intrinsically, human beings don't believe that a dollar bill or $100 bill has real value like a cow, like a bushel of corn. When you pick up a cow, or if you try to hold a cow, or if you pick up a bushel of corn, the weight alone to a human being is more valuable than just holding a $100 bill. Now, here's what happens when a central bank begins to print money out uncontrollably. They just print willy-nilly because they think that, well, we'll never get caught, and we can print to infinity, and no one really knows what's going on anyway in the world, and so we can just get away with it, and we'll just pretend to buy everything with all this fake money before they realize what's happening. Now, see, the curious thing is, every central bank, or every bank in the world, or every financial expert in the world knows full well that history has proven the markets will balance out eventually. So they're printing as fast as they can because they know it's going to crash. And what I mean when I say it's going to crash, they know that hyperinflation will come. It doesn't matter how hard the government tries to crank down by fixing prices or fixing whatever. Hyperinflation will absolutely come. And you'll be paying $1,000 or $10,000 for a loaf of bread or a carton of eggs. Yes, $10,000. You will soon be walking around with trillion-dollar bills in your wallet, wondering why you can't get a ride in an Uber for less than $5 trillion. That's what happens with hyperinflation. Because currency, especially fake currency, is not a true store of value, especially when it's being printed into oblivion by a central bank. So, now I hope you understand the difference. Now, instead of talking about cows and corn, I'm going to replace that with gold and silver. And here's why. Gold and silver over the last several millennia, 5,000, 10,000, however many years you want to go back, has remained the consistent store of value compared to any other form of money. And I don't mean just paper money. I also mean sticks or tobacco or other things that were used as money many, many times in the world. And not just bartering, but actually used as currency instead of paper or instead of cotton. So with gold and silver in the picture, here's the difference between the cow and corn and gold and silver. Gold and silver can be money because it stores value, simply because human beings love gold and silver. It's shiny, it's heavy, it's hard to find. People have to dig in the earth for a long time to find any significant amounts of either of them. And when they do, it's melted down, and it takes time and effort, and then they melt it down and purify it and then ship it off and shape it. I mean, there's a lot of effort that goes into making gold and silver. The mining, the refinement, the shaping, the protection of it. You have to keep it safe because people value it, and so they're always looking for ways to steal it. So there's all of that built-in value from people focusing on being able to create a gold coin or a silver coin. And that process never goes away, and it never gets faster. In fact, it gets harder. You have to go out and find other mines of silver and gold throughout the world. And it takes a lot of time and energy. And often people looking for gold and silver fail. So that makes gold and silver a very good store of value. And they're also valuable to other people, so that you could hand a chunk of gold to someone and they're very happy to give you services or goods in exchange. So now what you've got is not just a store of value, but you've got gold and silver that have actually performed as currency in the past as well. They were stamped into the shape of a coin or into a square or whatever. And so what happens then is your money and your currency become the same thing. Now it doesn't matter whether you have cows or corn or gold or silver, and it's a standard. It's a standard amount of gold, an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver, and it's stamped and it's got an official seal and it proves that it's pure, and people believe in that. See, that's the most important thing, because remember, money is an abstract idea. The value is a human, subjective, abstract idea. We give it value by saying, I like that and I want it. So there's the difference between a dollar bill or any kind of paper money and gold and silver. Paper money has never, ever, throughout history, been able to store value. In fact, as soon as paper money is created, it immediately starts to lose value unless it's backed 100% by gold or silver or precious metal. So there's the big difference. Now that you understand that difference between gold and silver being money and currency, and then just paper money being just currency, not a store of value, where do you go to store your money? Well, this is the really easy part of this video. I've talked many times about exactly what you can do to be able to take your currency. See, you work hard to get that currency. So you do a service or you create products and people give you currency in exchange. That's the value of your hard work. And so you want to keep that value somewhere safe, so that in an economy like this, where everything is losing value and nobody's keeping value, and hyperinflation, and these currencies, these dollar bills, it takes more of them to buy just a loaf of bread. So you used to be able to work for 5 minutes a day to be able to buy a loaf of bread because you got paid well. But soon you'll have to work a week just to afford a loaf of bread. That's what happens with paper money. So now that you have this paper money, how do you protect the value that you put into it by working hard? Well, you can buy precious metals. And the good news is that exactly right now, silver is the best deal I have ever paid for, ever, ever, ever. And there's a whole bunch of different reasons for that. The best thing to do to study that is go to watch Mike Maloney's The Hidden Secrets of Money. And let him explain to you why that's such a powerful position right now. Because in the history of the human race in 5,000 years, silver has never been so completely undervalued. Now, the next part is that you can also, besides precious metals, you can also buy real estate. Now, I wouldn't suggest you buy real estate just yet, and here's why. because of the way the economy is rolling right now, there's going to be another real estate bubble burst, just like in 2008 when all of those home prices and everything dropped drastically and there were foreclosures and people lost their homes and people lost their pensions. That's going to occur again. See, this stock market crash that happened a couple months ago was only the beginning. So wait on real estate. However, when it does drop, real estate is a very good store of value. The other really great store of value that I personally use is called a laser fund, which is basically a tax-advantaged insurance contract. And it takes advantage of the IRS code that says that in an insurance piece, when it's shaped appropriately, you can actually put money, already after tax money, into an insurance piece, and then you can have it grow with interest by being indexed against the market. It's not in the market, it's just against the market. So when the market goes up, it makes money for you. When the market goes down, it just stays at zero. It doesn't make any money, but it doesn't lose anything for you. And you can borrow against it or collateralize it, and it doesn't cost you anything in terms of fees or taxes. And even better, any interest you do pay on a loan against a laser fund is actually tax deductible also. And it just runs forever. It just, once you put it in place, it just makes you money tax-free forever and ever and ever. And the best source of information for a laser fund is liveabundant.com or Doug Andrews' Three-Dimensional Wealth here on YouTube. So those are the things that I personally use. Now, remember something. I talk about money and I talk about finance, but I'm only advising you as to what I do. I'm not telling you what you should do because simply you know your financial situation way better than I do. So make sure that you do your homework and you do your research and you discern. And especially if you have questions, put them in the comments down below. I would love to be able to explain more, and if you need more detail, let me know and I could create a video for it. So one last summary. A store of value. Money is a store of value. Currency is not. Gold and silver can be both, but gold and silver are only one of the ways that you can store value. You can also store value in real estate, but don't buy it high. You want to buy it low. And you can also store value in a laser fund, and it works incredibly well. I have one for me personally and one for my business. So I hope this video was very helpful to you, because right now is more important than ever to not only learn about money, but to be able to store the value you create with your hard work. You work hard, you earned that value, you have the right to keep it and not have someone steal it away from you just because they know finance or money or currency better than you do. So please give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful. Even better, subscribe to the channel so you know when I put up a new video. So thank you so much for tuning in. Money Maniacs, I'll see you next time.